You are listening to Season 2 of The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, the short and often daily podcast in which I chronicle my life and attempt to be a writer by writing daily. Sometimes. Hello, today is Wednesday the 30th of July 2025 and you are listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, and I'm going to report some success. I have spent about 4 hours live streaming today, and actually this podcast is being recorded as part of a live stream, but during that I have been through chapter 2 of Self-Portrait several times. And the first draft is signed off. It needed a little bit more work than I anticipated it would. So I did a screen read through this morning and ended up going through it 3 or 4 times, because every time I made a correction, it felt like I needed to go back to it. And also I didn't sleep that well last night, so I wasn't really in the mood. So I did that, and then I did a few other things this afternoon, and then I went back to the live stream. I'm looking at this now, about 2 hours ago, so just before 4 p.m. I started a live stream, and my plan was to do a paper sign off. So when I edit, I read through it lots of times on the screen until I'm happy with it, and then I print it off, and what normally happens is I see loads of stuff on the printed version that I didn't spot on the screen, and that's exactly what happened today. In fact, the first printed version was so bad that I made so many changes to it, I had to print it again and then write it again. Well, not write it again, but go through it again, and on the second version I signed it off. So yeah, I have done the prologue and the first 2 chapters of Self-Portrait. It's only the first first version. Before anybody gets to see it in terms of beta readers, I definitely will do a second draft. But it feels like positive progress. So the word count of the book is about 12,500 at the moment, which is great. The next chapter I'm going to write uses the last of the material that I'd already written. So the prologue was very, very similar to the prologue I'd already written. Chapter 1 was basically the best bits from chapters 1 and 2 that I'd already written. The bits of chapter 1 that I got rid of were the bits of Molly in hospital after a suicide attempt, which I've said on many occasions before. I don't like that. I don't think she'd do that. I think she's a much stronger person than that, and it doesn't fit with my idea of her character, which is going to be very positive, even in the face of quite chronic adversity. So Molly is going to be one of these people who always brings joy to the room, even when she's under a lot of pressure and a lot of bad things are happening to her. So yeah, so I got rid of the suicide attempt, and the chapter I wrote yesterday and today is Molly's introduction to the book. It's the introduction of temporal refugees, so other people who have been trapped in paintings who are freed so that they can live their lives, or some of them can anyway. So that's what I've written. Then chapter 3, so I started, and this is also, I've kind of caught up with myself now. So chapter 3 that I'm going to start writing, I had already written about 2,200 words of chapter 3. And that is all material that I quite like. I think so. It's basically Sayward working a shift on nights and running into a character that we met in chapter 1. And yeah, so there's some good material in there. It really goes into the nitty gritty of what it's like working on a night shift. And because I've done that myself, and I'm not sure it needs to be in that much detail. So there might be a bit of rewriting there. But basically, chapter 3, the first half is written already. I will edit it, and then I will complete the chapter. And then the next chapter will be the first... No, it's not the first brand new material, because chapter 2, the one I've written yesterday and today, is all brand new material. There's nothing in that was a hangover from my previous attempt to write this book. But no, that's a really good start. So I'm thinking about what targets I'm going to set myself next month. I've kind of cemented it in my head, but I'm going to keep mulling it over and how the rules and stuff work. I am back at work. This is disgusting. I'm back at work on Friday. It's a lovely lovely trip back. I'm going back to Singapore and Sydney, one of my favourite work trips. So I'll be doing that, and that's usually one that I can be quite creative on. So I've got some ideas of targets to set myself whilst I'm on that trip, and indeed whilst I'm for the whole month. But I need to mull them over and just make sure, because I don't want to set myself a target that isn't realistic. So I'm not going to podcast tomorrow. I'm going to have a completely writing-free day tomorrow because I achieved everything I wanted to achieve this month. So let's face it, I've done all right. I signed off the second draft of Empress of the Trees. I started the first draft of Self-Portrait, and I like what I've written so far. There's a character called Evelyn, I can't decide whether to pronounce the name Evelyn or Evelyn, but Evelyn Kershaw, who is a World War II air transport auxiliary pilot, is one of the temporal refugees that I've introduced in this book, and I'm already enjoying writing for her because she's very kind of forthright and tells people what she thinks. And she's initially going to be very patronising to Molly because she's about 10 years older than Molly. Molly's 17 and Evelyn is 27. Anyway, that's me waffling, having tomorrow off, and I'll be back on the 1st of August on Friday to tell you what targets I'm setting myself for the month. Thank you so much for listening. Take care and bye-bye. You have been listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer. For more information about what I'm writing, go to linktr.ee/Richard Writes, capital R, capital W, where you can find details of my website and social media. I may see you there.